know that every time you check if a test passed or failed, you are using the Java operators? In today's episode, we are diving into a core piece of Java that you use more often than you think. They are the operators. And we will explore what operators are and why they are the essentials in testing and see some real life QA scenarios that depend on them. Plus, I will share some personal insights and answer common questions about operators in automation. So before we go ahead, let me introduce. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's me, Alicia. So the question of the hour, what are operators in Java? Operators are symbols that tells a compiler to perform specific operations on variables and values. In automation, operators help us compare, calculate, and control logic flows in our test case. So I'm just going to show you a table of the common operators that you will be using in your automation.
First one is assignment operator equals. What does it do? It assigns a value to the variable. For example, it is capable of storing elements, test data, the results, the values, whatever values you wanted to feed to your automation, you assign it using a equals operator. The next one is plus equals. Basically, you add and assign values. However, we have mentioned dynamic locators, URLs, and lock messages. However, I wouldn't recommend it much because string is an object and it is immutable. So basically, it's not recommended much. However, this is one of the operator that we have. The very next one is the relational or the comparison operators equals. What does it do? It check if the two values are equal. You would do it in assertions and conditional logic and all those things. If you want to check if the two values are equal, then you go for this equal operator. The next one is not equals. It's basically a negation operator that is useful for negative assertions and all those things to check if a value is not equal. The rest of it is like greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. You would know by itself. The next one is logical operators. It's an and operator or a logical and operator. It returns true if both the conditions are true. Essentially, it is used for combining the assertions or the conditional statements. The next one is a not. It is actually used to reverse the Boolean value. It is useful for checking the negative conditions. Then you have the unary operators. The plus, it is used to increment, and the next one is used to decrement. You would be seeing it most commonly in the for loops. The other one is a ternary operator that is used for if-else statements and all those things. We might use this also in common. The next one is a type comparison operator or the instance of. It is used to check if an object is an instance of a particular class or an interface.
How did mastering Java operators improve my test validations? Once I understood how to use comparison and logical operators, my test validations became much more precise. I could write assertions that check not just simple equality, but complex conditions like verifying multiple fields at once or combining several requirements for a pass or a failed result. What specific bugs did I prevent by understanding these operators? I prevented issues like false positives in tests, where a test would pass even though not all conditions were met. For example, using an operator instead of an or operator in login or checkout scenarios help me avoid the logical errors that can let bugs slip through. Validations are at the heart of test automation, checking whether actual matches expected. So operators allow us to compare values in assertions, and also it combines multiple conditions. Also, it controls the test flow based upon the logic. These three are the main reasons why we have operators in test automation. And just think about it, it's important, right? Now let's go to the some code.
First, let's add a class. We can name it testoperator.java. Inside the class, let's add a main method, public static void main. And let's declare int expected equals 5. We have assigned 5 as a value and int actuals equals 5. So we are going to check a condition if expected equals actual. Then we have to print test passed, or else if the condition has failed, we need to print test failed.
Without operators, you couldn't even check if your test succeeded or not. Has my knowledge of operators affected my debugging process? So when a test fails, I could easily go and check the operator logic in the conditions. Many times a misplaced equals or a missing node was the root cause. Understanding operator precedence and grouping help us spot and fix these bugs much faster. In what ways do operators influence the performance of my test scripts? Using the right operators can make conditions more efficient. For example, short circuit operators like and or stop evaluating as soon as the result is known, which can speed up the test, especially when dealing with resource intensive check. We will have two operator families. One is a comparison operator. They use to compare the values. We use equals, not equals, greater, less than equal to, and greater than equal to. And also we do have the logical operators. They are and, or, and not. They combine multiple Boolean expressions. Both types are crucial and we will be mostly using them in all our test validation to simulate the real user actions and system behavior. Let's take an example.
Let's write a code to check if a user has a valid access if it's a age of above 18. So I am declaring int user age 1 equals 20 and I'm adding just boolean has valid id 1 equals true. So here is just I'm just printing out those scenarios. Scenario 1 is it has age above than 18. So we need to print a condition wherein it has valid id. That's it. All these are hard codings we are writing as of now. So if user age 1 greater than or equals 18 and has a valid id, we are printing the message user has access. Now let's write an else block wherein we print user doesn't have access. So this is the scenario 1. Now let's go to scenario 2. In scenario 2, I am going to declare two variables and assign values as lower than 18, that is 16. And boolean has valid id equals true. Now I'm not printing the values here, I just want to show you the condition. So if user age 2 greater than or equal 18 and has valid id, then I'm gonna print the message user has access. Or else I'll add an else block here to print user doesn't have access. What happens here is since user age 2 is 18, the else block will be executed. User doesn't have access.
Operators may look really small for you, but they power the logic of almost every automation decision that we make. They help your test scripts behave like real users, choosing paths, making decisions, and validating outcomes. In the next episode, we will move into Java conditionals like if else and switch statements and see how they help in writing smart responsive test cases using the operations we studied above. If you found this video as helpful, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your questions in the comments. Catch you in the next one and happy testing.